Perfect. All right. So, hi, my name is Kennedy. I haven't officially spoken yet, so really great to see everyone here today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to spend it here with us. Scott and I have a really great presentation for you all to discuss how to plan an event. And we look forward to all the feedback and great ideas that we'll get from this session. All right, so the first thing that I like to discuss with everybody is defining the goal for your event. So that can mean just about anything, but I think something that grounds the Alumni Association most is our mission statement. That is to connect students and alumni to advance their careers, their passions, and their University of South Carolina. So that's always the focus and the most important thing about any event that we host, just making sure that we're connecting back with students, alumni, and of course, the university that we all know and love. So within that, it's easier to plan an event when you have themes. And so there's a few that the Alumni Association have seen to be tried and true. Just gonna name a few for you. And if you, at the end, I'll get you to tell me some of the events that are most successful within your city and how you've been able to plan those. So the first one is anything sports centered. That can mean any sports event coming from South Carolina athletics. So we all know and love football. Is our favorite time of the year. Tons of watch parties that go with football. We have a very successful women's basketball team. So it's always nice to start a watch party around maybe like January when SEC tournament season starts. And then we have baseball. We're doing exceptionally well. So there's still time to create a watch party for that event. In addition, we can have happy hours and networking, just a different layer of social gathering. It's a great opportunity to connect on business opportunities. If you're in the business for a new house, a childcare facility, anything of that nature, finding people within your community who went to USC that you can kind of reminisce over things that you have in common about Green Street, the Horseshoe, William Bryce Stadium, all the things that make us really remember why we love Carolina so much. Also, there are opportunities to have a philanthropic event. So USC loves service. There is one event that they do in the spring every year called the Big Event, and it's a way for everybody in the South Carolina community to give back to the local Columbia community. And that typically happens towards the end of March, the beginning of April. You might have gotten an email from us earlier this season just to help you think about opportunities and ways to host an event in addition to the big event. So that could be community service, volunteering, getting cans for a food drive, anything of that nature. Now, one of the most fun and exciting parts of themes is making them family oriented, because as we matriculate out of university, we will go on to have families and connect with other communities. And so making sure that we have activities that everybody of all different generations can be a part of is such a cool opportunity. That could be anywhere from going to a botanical garden, a local park, or even a zoo, or if you have an amusement park of some sort in your local city. All of those things are great to include everyone of all ages. And then finally, city-specific events, such as festivals, music opportunities. I know we have a few people from New Orleans on the call today. They have Mardi Gras, so it's always a great time to create events around that. There are ample sports activities in certain cities that have professional teams. Those are always great events to host. So now I would love it if everybody could disclose what event has been most successful in your city in the group chat, or if you want to just say it out loud here, we'd love to hear about it. All right. Andy, are you still on the call? Could you tell us a little bit about how Mardi Gras events in New Orleans are hosted and what you find to be successful about that event?
Yeah. So Ashley, the president or the chair, she lives on a parade route. So we actually has a party at her house for Gamecocks, and then y'all send swag beads, that kind of stuff, and it's a pretty good time. because it's during the day, so it's not like crazy Bourbon Street Mardi Gras. It's just more parades and festivals and fun stuff.
Nice. Thank you so much for letting us know. I see we have Jennifer. She's talking about a Braves game in Atlanta. Those are always really exciting. Matt, would you mind speaking to the big event that you hosted in Nashville recently?
Matt may be on a work call at the same time, so
Okay. Totally understandable.
yep, he might chime in a little later.
No worries. Well, as you've heard from a few of the people here today, there are definitely different ways to host events, and there are some very successful ones in each city you can find.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, I think we're good to go to the next slide. All right, perfect. So establishing a timeline. This is probably one of the second most important things about hosting an event. Typically, we like to give ourselves a grace period of 4 to 6 weeks, just because it helps you collect all of the logistics, confirming what day and what time of the day that you plan to host an event. That's super important. You want to make sure that whatever time of the day you host an event, you think you can get the biggest crowd and that it's convenient for all who are in attendance. Additionally, there are sometimes expenses when you host an event. That could be a rental reservation space that you have to pay for. And so just knowing when those deadlines are, do you need to have that up front? Could you pay for it the day of the event? Similarly to food, sometimes you have a minimum number of people that you have to have, or you have to make menu selections. And just so making a list of dates of when those specific logistics are due will help you run your event a lot more smoothly. There's also a marketing timeline that you want to consider. So we typically like to give any audience at least 2 weeks to know about an event. So whether that's through Eventbrite, where you can host events through ticketing or for free, and it helps you track who's showing up to your event. If you're paying for an event, it helps you collect money in that regard. That's always super helpful. And Eventbrites pair really well with email blasts. Typically, if you submit an email blast form, which if you haven't already gotten yet, we will definitely send that your way. You can put your email blast to everybody in your region and attach your Eventbrite. So if you need a graphic, create it for that. Whatever the context of your event is, messaging, put that in your email, and then also just letting people know of all the upcoming events that you have. Again, there's always social media, and there's several different social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, which are typically the most common and well-known platforms for social media, but you also have Twitter and LinkedIn, and those are very helpful. LinkedIn more on the networking side, but they're definitely still useful. And so all of those social media platforms have specific uses and demographics that they pull from. And later on in our Canva training session, Jesse will briefly mention that to give you a little bit more clarification on what I'm discussing here for you. Yep.
Great preview there, Kennedy, for what's to come this afternoon, because we are going to get into that a lot. Yeah, so to continue on with this, I think what a lot of clubs really need to know, you've set up your timeline, but now you want to know, what is my budget going to be for this event? And I'm glad to see we do have some experts on the call, and we also have some of our newer club chairs on the call today. So definitely feel free to chime in, give ideas, things that have gone well, and ways that have gone well, because we love to hear that feedback, and also to share it with some of our newer club chairs, like I said, who are on this call. So you've thought of the event, you've got a timeline of when you want it. Now it's all about, where is the money coming from? So of course, it looks like we've got mostly club people on here right now. You all have a budget for your club. And those do range. The bottom range there at that $250 level. We want y'all to use every last dollar of that, and maybe even a couple more. We've been really benefiting those who have been doing more events. We want to challenge them to do more events so that we can continue to increase the funding, because the more people that we see coming out, we want to continue to encourage that. So talking to your club representative, so Kennedy or myself, to talk about, all right, this is how much we want to use for this event. Can we squeeze more? Can we squeeze less? What do you need from us? So we are happy to kind of give you an idea of what are you willing to spend from your budget. You know, if it's in the fall, we're not going to encourage you to spend your entire budget. But as we get farther in the spring, you know, we're going to say, let's clean out that account. Let's use the remainder of what you have. And then decide, are you going to have ticket sales for this event? Great examples would be the Columbia Gamecocks are doing a baseball game in a couple weeks. And so what they've done is they've used their club budget to subsidize the ticket cost for their tickets. So we're usually the tickets for the section we're in are going to be $40 a pop. We're probably going to make it down to $20 for people to buy. So that way they're going to get their buffet and the prime seating that they want, but at a discounted rate. So they're using some of their budget to help offset that. And using some of the other resources that Kennedy mentioned earlier, like the Eventbrite, to help monitor that activity. So think about, what is that price range? Like, I want you all to consider in your head right now, how much would you pay to go to whatever event you're thinking about in your head? For the Braves game, the Braves are super notable. So they're typically can charge full price, but also Jennifer's worked it out with them to where they actually get a seat back. They got the very comfortable seats. I don't remember what they're called, the seat cushions that had the Gamecock logo on them last year. And this year, I think they're doing hats. So maybe she'll pop in the chat with that one. But they get something out of that. So that ticket might be worth a little bit more. Whereas if you're going to the Lexington Blowfish game, you know, we might not want to pass that $10 mark. Also, who's paying for this event? Is it going to be completely from the Alumni Association? Would you like Kennedy or I to put our card down and call in advance? That's worked well in Nashville and in Atlanta, where we called and paid in advance, so they didn't have to think about it day of. They just sent us the receipt afterwards. Or is it going to be a reimbursement? We've really tried to streamline what we're doing here to make reimbursement super simple. You let us know how much you're going to spend. You spend that money and you get the receipt. Once you send that receipt to us, we can have a check on your way within a week. We will always want to chat with you before you spend any money for reimbursement, but it's always been super helpful for that. So if you want quick payment, all we ask is that you chat with us in advance and take a picture of that receipt and send it to us right away. The faster you get us that receipt, the faster we can get a check out to you. So yeah, definitely think about, where is that money coming from and how much do you want to use from the club perspective, and how much do you think your individual be worth paying depending on your event. And we always want to try to balance having maybe a paid event, but a couple free ones in between there, so people feel like it's easy to come out, it's easy to bring the family, and it's easy to get involved with the group. Any questions on those expenses? Awesome. Next part is raising money for your event. And Nashville is one that I'm definitely going to highlight on here. But we've got some great ways that you can get involved. We are more than happy to help you try to find sponsors for your events. So looking in the Raleigh-Durham area for somebody that might want to be a partner with this and cover $500. Sponsorship could be the organization itself, like the Carolina Ale House, bringing you in and giving away free appetizers, or it could be a corporation. We're happy to help you decide what does that look like and how do you do that outreach, because we are a nonprofit. As a 501c3, the Alumni Association, we're tax deductible. So it's makes it a little easier to get those sponsorships when the company knows they're getting something in return for that. We recommend fundraisers and percent nights. I know this seems old school and it's what your elementary schoolers have to do. You know, they go to Chick-fil-A to get that money back to their schools, but you can do that for your club, and we are happy to raise that, and that money can go towards your operating budget. For those of you who also have endowments, yes, we would love to raise money for those endowments, and we would encourage you to do fundraisers for those. But if you want more operating budget, it's always worth having percent nights. Or look at somebody like the Nashville Gamecocks. They did a Titans game, and they convinced the Titans to give us a portion of every ticket sold. They ended up selling a ton of tickets to that Titans game in December, and the Titans wrote a check for just over $700 to the Legacy Scholarship Fund. So great partnership there, but we could have found a way to also work that towards a club's endowment or towards their operating budget for future events. Lastly, our go-to saying recently for Kennedy and I has been closed mouths don't get fed. So always talking with your venues, reaching out to them and just say, hey, we're going to be bringing in 20 people, 30 people. For some of our larger clubs, we're bringing in 50 people for an event. What can you offer for us? Because our people are going to be coming in. They might be having a beverage. They're going to be ordering food. Is there any appetizer you can get? Is there a drink coupon you can get? And so we've just really realized if you ask, a lot of times these people are willing to work with you because they want your business coming back. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to do admission fees, maybe consider having your budget offset the cost of something. So looking at that operating budget and deciding how much do I want to spend to offset the cost, or co-host an event with another organization. For those who are in the larger cities, we have our affinity councils also represented in those cities. So DC, Atlanta, New York, we've got local people that want to work with you to co-host an event. And that way we can combine budgets and use some of the larger budgets to support some of our club activities. And as I mentioned earlier, we want you using your full budget. So feel free to give either one of us a call to talk about how can we use, what can we get more of, because we want to spend it, and the groups that spend their budget, we will then turn around and try to find more for you because we want to use it. We want to be able to spend it so that next year we can request more and continue to grow our presence in all of your cities. So yeah, any questions when it comes to raising money or getting money from the Alumni Association? Awesome. Passing it back to you, Kennedy.
All right. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, venue is a super important aspect of event planning. Having a central location, that's always the most helpful. I know that we have a few big cities across the nation that pull from different regions of the area. And so finding a location that works best for everyone is really sustainable to building a lot of momentum within that local community. Also, there are ways in which Scott and I can help you. We can gather a survey, kind of getting an idea of how far are anybody or alum in that area are willing to travel. Is it 30 minutes? Is it up to an hour? Additionally, when it comes to cost, I'm not sure if Scott mentioned it, we can kind of gauge how much people are willing to spend. So those are all opportunities to better understand the alumni within your area and what they're looking for most. So further along, when you think about a venue, you want it to complement the theme of your event. So for instance, a watch party wouldn't necessarily be the best location, wouldn't necessarily be the best theme of an event to host at a hotel lobby. But a brewery or a sports bar makes a lot of sense because it's casual, it's comfortable, there's food and beverage that are suitable to the event, and you can always watch a sporting event. So thinking about building that relationship with your venue, is it a alum-owned business? Could you possibly get a discount there? Does your colleague run that business? Is there some connection within professionalism, personal relationships? Is there any way for you to get a discount? And as Scott mentioned, if you don't ask, it's always going to be a no. So it never hurts to just ask and see what they think or what they say. Additionally, if they're going to be an event where you're going to watch the sporting event, being able to know for a fact if they're going to play the game is super important. We all know what it's like to be at William Bryce Stadium. We're a rowdy bunch. We love to be able to feel like we're watching the game and on the field with them. So being able to know if they're playing the game is super important. But it's no fun if there's no volume. So definitely make sure that you consider asking those questions if you're uncertain. For instance, I know Atlanta sometimes has a little bit of difficulty getting the game because it's close to Athens, it's Georgia. But just making sure that you ask the questions to get the answers that you are looking for. Additionally, if you are at a sports bar or a brewery, is there a cash bar? It's always a great question to ask that can remedy some discounts or just a clear level of communication in case you want to return to that venue again. And also knowing if you need a minimum for beverage intake or food intake is also very important because it can help you determine if this is going to be an event where you need to sell tickets or if it's something that you can remedy the cost within your budget at the Alumni Association. So just a few things to keep in mind when thinking about venue. But again, if you ever need help or want to know specifics about your region, give us a call, send us the email, and we can help you get a survey out. I think we're good on this slide. Perfect. So going into communication and marketing, all of this planning would be flat if we weren't able to communicate it with other people. So there is an opportunity to always send an email blast. The Alumni Association has a fantastic system where we're able to grab alumni from different parts of the country and market our message to a wider audience. There's also an email blast request form that I might have mentioned earlier. It's always available. If you need it and you forgot it, we can resend it. But what that consists of, what we ask from you when that form is up, is if you have a graphic that you know that you really want to share with the rest of your crowd, that's always helpful to provide. As I mentioned, we do have a segment session earlier or later in the afternoon where our digital content coordinator, he's going to show you how to create one, which is a super exciting session, if I might add. But working into that email messaging, what do you want to say to your audience? Are there certain locations, times, all of the things that matter when planning an event around your timeline are things that you want to communicate up front? And if there's any links, if you have an Eventbrite, making sure you provide that link to us. Sometimes those are things that Scott and I can help with because it's easier for us to market out to a broader alumni scope. But if that's an opportunity for you to host an event with ticketing or just a reservation theme, let us know and provide that link. Or even if you want to be most accommodating and provide the menu for whatever location you're at, that's always very helpful. And we ask that you give us a week in advance for when you anticipate wanting your first level of communication and marketing to go out, just so that we can make sure it's the most effective and productive marketing possible. And also working our way back into social media, there's several different platforms that we use. Instagram and Facebook are the most common because they both give you the opportunity to post on your feed, and posts last as long as you want them to until you archive it, delete it, remove it, things of that nature. But you also have the opportunity to post stories. And what a story is, for those who aren't aware, is it's a graphic, some level of communication, but it only lasts for 24 hours. The other really great thing about Facebook is that you're able to create an event within the page that you're on. So you can reuse the image that you had from Eventbrite and plug in all of your information, the date, the time of the event, what's going to be there, just so that people have a different way of seeing that information in a different area. So just a few things to let you know that social media doesn't have to be hard, but if you have any questions, definitely feel free to let us know.
Yeah, and I think just one success story I'll share on this is trust that our new systems are really working well. A great success story would be the LA Gamecocks last year. They were a group that had 4 or 5 people showing up for any given event, usually for a watch party if it was a big game, and they could only get, like I said, 4 or 5 people out there. They used our new emailing system and put out a big blast for their first happy hour, and they ended up getting 95 alumni out by using that email. We put an Eventbrite out so that people could easily access an RSVP and give us that head count. And then they actually utilize LinkedIn heavily. And so they just pushed it simply saying, hey, join us, and this is where we want to go. So we found that engaging people through LinkedIn worked really well with that younger population out there in LA that was really focused on networking. There's been other cities where Instagram is their thing. I mean, we have some of the Instagram kings on here with Andy from New Orleans and Ron from Memphis, who do great job pumping things out on their stories. Martha in Orlando does a great job of handling things on Facebook. So know your audience and then choose to engage them there. And I think that's going to be where we see a lot of success. Once you've actually got them, you have sent out that word, and now it is time for the actual event. it is, of course, crucial to have some swag items and to use them appropriately. We know that right now there is a ton of excitement that USC is back. So as you may have seen, our new spirit mark, I hope it doesn't blur out right there, the USC alumni logo. It is clean. We love it. That's just a sticker on a Walmart water bottle. This is not new swag to be purchased. But we're looking forward to getting that spirit mark out. I'll give you all a little hint. The shirts that will be provided after this conference may or may not have that spirit mark very prominently located. So we're really excited to get this mark back out there. So this summer, we are going to be putting out the form like we did last year, having you request swag items. So we're going to send you those starter packs like we've done in years past. It's going to include our new rally towels, new pom-poms, the new koozies that are coming in, our Forever to Thee sunglasses, lapel pins, and writing pens. And of course, what we're really excited about is it's time for everyone to throw away the My Carolina flags that you may or may not having in your bars, because we are going to be sending everyone a new Spirit Mark travel flag to hang out at whatever your watch party location is, to carry with you to events, to get pictures to post with other alumni. What's great about that our new Spirit Mark is it actually says alumni on there. So we're really excited to get that out to y'all. And when we send this out to y'all, we want you to make sure you're using it in the ways that make sense. We are hopefully going to work on getting some more primo items like we've sent in the past, giving you 1 or 2 cups or hats or things. We don't know what those items are going to be just yet. We're still trying to find out where we want to take this, but we will be wanting to send y'all some of those next level items that you can use as a giveaway for your first or second watch party, that you can use as a ploy to get people to come to that networking event. And so we are open to ideas. And in fact, I would love it right now if everyone could drop a comment in the chat of what has been a great spirit or swag item that you've seen in the past that you would like to see happen again. These are the ones on the screen. These are the ones we know we are going to have for this fall. But we want ideas before we just start buying things. We want to know, what do our alumni here want to see? So if you have ideas for any swag items, please, please, please put them on there. And we're going to see what we can't come up with in the coming weeks. So like I said, this summer, you'll be requesting those items. A 4-foot-long scroll, decals and magnets. Ooh, we are getting this in magnet form, which is really cool. So we will be hopefully sharing some of those out with y'all. A scroll. I'm going to have to ask you what that means later on, Andy. So
yeah, I'll try to find a picture.
I'm guessing it's something that unrolls.
Yeah, no, it was like a full like laminate. It wasn't laminate. It was like a plastic rubber kind of jam. They could hang next to a flag that actually had like a QR code back when that was before that was like still a new thing, and listed all the social media sites and everything. I'm sure I have a picture of it. I'll try to find it.
Perfect. Yeah, send that my way. We would love to try to replicate some of these items. Anything that's going to help you engage better with your alumni that are coming in. Because that's what we're trying to push now harder than ever, is that engagement and that networking between alumni.
Hey,
All
Scott.
right. Yes.
I don't want to interrupt, but you said networking a couple of times, and I want to mention something around that. Is now a good time, or do you want to hold on to it?
This is a perfect time.
Okay, excellent. So this was not pre-planned, so apologize for just kind of jumping in and throwing this out. But, you know, Scott and Kennedy both have mentioned networking quite a few times. And I think for us at the association, one of the things that we're really focused on is how do we continue to push efforts around the networking piece, right? Because we know that the game viewings are something that people love to do. Anything tied with athletics, particularly when things are going really well for athletics, tends to have a great turnout. But, you know, we're also getting a lot of feedback from both our young alumni, but really from all ranges of alumni about the networking component. And, you know, we're seeing where some clubs are having really good success, and some of our councils as well, in hosting networking events that aren't just a happy hour. And I'm just curious if anybody on here has had those successes, and what sort of components have you incorporated to make that maybe a little easier, and or to help some of the conversations get started? Because again, I think when it comes to the the things tied to sporting events of all kinds, like those are great. And those are really important for the engagement piece. But really want to kind of maybe just talk through the networking piece and just see if anybody on here has had some great success or some challenges. And maybe that's some homework for us too, to help put out some opportunities there.
I'll jump in if you guys don't mind.
Yes, please.
We did something early in the pandemic, actually, where we invited, and honestly, I can't recall her name, but she was with the business school, and it was really just to kind of refresh your resume. And we did it all online, and that was extremely successful.
Excellent.
And that's a great idea. I know when we're doing our next mentor matching process with Mentorship Hub, which is our partnership with the Career Center, I think we're hoping to kind of offer some programming around that again. So that's a great idea. And maybe we'd love to see that locally, doing a resume building workshop so older alumni can work with our younger ones. Thank you, Jennifer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Any other ideas?
Would it be just a quick kind of poll or question? You can drop a yes or no in the chat. Would it be helpful for us to maybe put together some ideas around a networking event and what that could look like? Would that be a helpful tool to you guys as you're in your different communities?
Maybe.
Maybe we'll just do it and offer it. And then if you guys want to take advantage of that, I think the resume refresher was a great idea and a great way to put maybe a little bit of structure around something so that it's not just your general networking, but there's maybe a focus. Oh, great. Put up another, yep. And I think the networking happy hours, the timing for those are great. And I think the happy hour is excellent. Maybe what we can offer is just, hey, here's a few ideas around things you can actually do as a part of that networking happy hour to help those conversations happen.
Absolutely. And I love seeing some of our newer club chairs hopping in here. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Yep. It looks like Katie put in a question about the Moore School. I do know they're still doing some of their networking events. I don't know their actual calendar, but we've teamed up with them from time to time as well. But I think that's a great point to kind of see what they're doing too. Anytime we can partner with other units, it's a win-win, I truly believe.
Truly.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me jump in on that, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of the last piece here is executing that event. So you've done all the work on the front end, and this is where a lot of you excel, is that day of support. What are you going to do when you have the people there? So of course, we love it if you use some of our swag items to decorate the space. Pom-poms are easily the best decorative piece that we hand you to really sprinkle that garnet and black around the room. But crucially, what we're going to be getting into in our next presentation around membership is engaging with those guests. So be sure greeting people as they are walking in, invite guests to talk to each other, try to build those connections. So, hey, Tiffany, actually, have you met Kennedy? She also graduated from the College of Journalism and Mass Communication. That is not true for either of them. But we want you to help build those bridging connections, find that small thing that they reminisced on, and get them to really talk about themselves. That is the easiest way to get people going, is ask them a question and let them really just go back into the memory banks there. Also, when you are at that event, we ask you to try to get an idea of attendance. If you could start collecting names and whatnot, we would love to see that. And we would love for you to share that with us. That is not a requirement at this time. We just ask that you get a count for us. We want to see those engagements. We want to know that our alumni are really having that presence in every city. So we ask that you fill out that post-event form to let us know how everything did, so that we can talk about all the great work y'all are doing. Last night, DC had 45 people show up to their happy hour. Excellent stuff, and they let us know about it. They also let us know what they could have improved on and what went really well, and shared some photos. Now we have content to share on our side, and really push out the amazing work that y'all are already doing. So definitely do that. Also, I can't say this enough. Please collect invoices. I hate it when I hear from a club chair that just goes, "Oh yeah, I didn't get my receipt or anything, so don't worry about it." I'm like, no, collect that stuff, send it our way so we can help you all out where we can. And then of course, have fun. We know there's a volunteer job. We know y'all are working hard in these times, but we really do ask, like, enjoy it. Have a good time, because people can really feed off of your energy. And I think that is a crucial part when everybody sees that big old smile on your face. So definitely have a good time while you are out there. So that was the main chunk of our kind of how to plan an event from start to finish. We'd love to answer any questions y'all may have. And I think I saw a few more things in the chat pull up. Any questions from the group?
Scott, I have one quick question.
Yes, Jennifer.
If we've got an event where there's limited numbers, it's like a community service event.
Mhm.
Is sending out an Eventbrite the best way to do it? And obviously putting in the social post something along the lines of the first 20 that sign up, that kind of thing. Is that the best direction to take?
Great question. You have two options. You can use us. We have something like this happening in Colombia in a couple weeks. They're doing a Habitat for Humanity Day, and they can only take 20 for 2 separate shifts. So we are going to be sending out a jot form that basically says, hey, you can sign up, but it is limited, and we only have 20 spaces for each. So we can do a jot form for that where we collect their information and limit the amount of people that can select that. Or we can do an Eventbrite where we limit the amount of tickets per time frame, because you can do free tickets with an Eventbrite. So happy to talk through those options with you, but that's how we can utilize technology on y'all's behalf, just to really streamline these processes. And Jennifer, I believe y'all know it well, for your happy hour last week with also 45 people at it, we used that Eventbrite just to give you an idea of how many people were coming and who to expect. And we can really customize any of those to get their cell phone numbers, address, college they graduated from, degree. We can customize any of those to be what y'all need. So just be sure to chat with us and we'll give you as much information as we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, y'all, we've got 5 minutes before we're going to start our next presentation. So if you need to step away, use the restroom or anything, now would be a great time. And we're going to kind of relax for 5-ish minutes here. If you want to just sit around and chat, I will be on. And y'all know I love to fill the empty void.